Well, it is finally time for the long-awaited, much requested, and promised gem market guides. As you know, I'm 100% free to play, and in order to get where I am, I've calculated that it's taken me at least 200 to 225,000 gems to get to where I am right now, basically with max account. And so I'm going to show you all that I've learned over the last year to the best of my ability to teach you hopefully how to do the same thing as I have. We're going to do this in multiple parts over the next number of weeks, and I'm going to get into all the different methods that I know, different things that I've tried, how to do it, what to do, what not to do, and hopefully it helps you out. So let's get into it, and it's going to be real good. You ready? Let's go. Let's go. All right, let's do this. Part 1 of gem making guides. Here we go. I am so excited. All right, so for this first one, I just want to talk generally about the different methods that are used, the things that you can take advantage of, the different things that I look for in market, kind of how I've come about finding these things out, and kind of just an overview of what it's looked like for me free to play to get this account where it is. And then in the coming weeks, I'm going to come out with probably 3 or 4 more really specific guides talking about different methods that you're going to be able to use to actually follow through with the things that I'm going to be talking about right now. So let's get into it, and we'll talk all things market. So let's go to market. I have it clear right now for a reason, just so that we can look at everything. So I think in my mind, there's 4 main things that you can take advantage of to really get yourself ahead when it comes to market. So that's people's naivety, unfortunately, where they don't know what things are actually worth or what they can get out of it, and so you can take advantage of that. So let's say, for example, you look at all the components and these golden artifacts. People don't know that these are going to sell out, but they might sell them for 30 or 50K during the event, and you can take advantage of that later, right? So that's naivety. They don't know any better. You can take advantage. So the next thing is laziness. Honestly, a lot of people just don't want to spend the time to do something, but if you're willing to spend the time to do it when they aren't, then chances are you're going to be able to get ahead of them when it comes to this sort of thing. So let's look at this, for example. 99% of the time, the green tier 6s are cheaper than the normals. Reason for that is that this is a component, all people need is the normal. So everyone just buys up normal, but they don't realize that if they just weren't lazy and went into market, they could save 20K or more normally on each one of these just by buying a different rarity of it, but they don't know or they don't care enough to do it, right? The next thing is that some people are wealthy and they want to spend gems, where if you look at like really rare tier 9 gear, like let's just look at legendary gear. For the most part, these are going to be things that are going to be selling for a ton of gems, that people have the money that they want to deck out their heroes. They want their heroes to look like this, for example. So they're willing to spend 1,000 gems per piece to get it to look like this, and people have the wealth to throw around that you can make money on, right? So if you have the items, then it makes sense. The other thing is, and I think this is kind of most important, especially when it comes to my gem making methods, is that people sometimes don't have a choice. So let's look at that, for example. So if you go into market and you look at, let's say, just for an example, really low level normal gear with nothing on it. So this is just like a fodder item. See how most of these don't have any gold offers to them? Like most of them, let's say a champion comes in and asks for 5 of these leather armors in exchange for coins. A lot of people are going to be too lazy to craft them themselves, or they're just going to go to market because they don't have any and think, okay, I don't have a gold price, so I'm just going to buy them with gems. So often people will list, really low quality, like normal low tier gear for gems, thinking, oh, that's never going to sell. And it actually does sell. And it's kind of weird sometimes, and they're thinking, okay, what's going on? But I think it's a mixture of naivety, laziness, and people just don't have a choice in what they're going to buy. The same thing is with elements. So if you go to elements and you're looking at, let's say, like legendaries, for the most part, if you want a legendary fire to put on, a really good piece of gear, you don't have a choice. You're not going to be buying it with gold. You're going to be buying it with gems. And so often when you're looking at different types of items and looking, okay, how can I make gems? Your best bet are going to be the things that don't have a gold offer, because people literally don't have a choice and they have to spend that. So I'm going to go through right now a lot of the different methods, kind of umbrella that I use to make gems. And then, like I said, in subsequent videos, we're going to get more in depth in how I actually do it. So I've said in the intro that I've made easily over 200,000 gems, probably closer to 250,000 to get to where I am to get a max account. And so there's a few methods that I've used to get there, but we're going to talk about a few of them now. So most of what I'm going to talk about is instances where people don't have a choice. So let's look at this, for example, tier 2 and 3 normal items. Something like this where people are needing it often for components or something like that, and they're selling for close to 10 times gold value. Quite often people are just going to spend the gems on this, especially really low level players, because they don't want to spend 10 times gold and they would rather just spend a couple of gems. So if you know what people are willing to spend the gems on and what they're looking for, also look at this, for example. These only have 29 in the market. So if there's hardly any in the market, and eventually this is going to run out because it's almost at 10 times anyways, like look at this, it's going to run out and there's only going to be gem offers. So I didn't have to buy very many of those. And so now the only choice is somebody needs warrior gauntlets for a champion or whatever reason, they're going to have to spend the gems on that. So if I put these 5 in the market for 2 days at two gems, I can guarantee you that they're going to sell. It's just knowing what to look for, what items are going to sell and what not. It's going to help you. So I'm going to go into depth on this method later on with what items specifically work, what don't, what to look for, and specific examples that I've taken screenshots of so that I can show you exactly what I do, what I look for, and how to actually make the gems. But I just want to mention it here. The next major thing that we're going to be looking at is chests. So we've talked about this a ton in different streams and people have asked me about it a lot. But basically, a lot of events are giving out keys, and the free-to-play players aren't getting the chest to go with the keys. And also, very few players are doing the 1, 2, 3, 4 tier quests nowadays, right? Like, they're just not doing them as often. So there's not as many chests in the game that people are getting, but still people are getting keys or they're wanting to gem open them to get the exclusive blueprints and that sort of thing. So eventually this chest is going to run out of gold offers and only be available for gems. So often people are going to buy this chest for even 10 times gold, so for 1,000,000 gold, and then they're going to sell it even for 5 gems, so you're going to get 4 after tax. So 1,000,000 gold for 4 gems essentially, like total that you're getting, is about 250k a gem. And so people will often use this method to get gems, or essentially buy gems, be transferring gold to gems. It's the same thing. This will often sell for 500k, sell for 3 gems, you get 2 out of it, it's still 250k. So often one of the biggest things that people are going to be looking for is what is the ratio of gold to gems that I'm able to look at. So here's an example that I know quite well. So we're just going to look at this really quick. 5 gems or 5.9 million gold. I know that these boots often sell for this much. They will sell for 5 million gold a piece. So if you know that, you can buy it for 5 gems, try to sell for 5 million gold, and be making 1,000,000 gold for 1 gem. That's absolutely a possibility. And then if you use chests to get it back at 250k, then that's obviously a really good ratio. But you have to understand that this might not sell for 5 million gold, and over time it might go down a lot in value. Like, you just have to understand that markets go up and down, and you have to try obviously to buy low and sell high. So the other thing I want to talk about is that often blueprints will have requirements of rare items. So let's find one here. So this, for example, you need a green light element, tier 4, in order to craft this item. So everyone's going to be buying green, blue, purple, whatever of these light elements. So right now you can be crafting these and getting gems for them because there's no gold offers. Nobody's really selling them for 120,000 gold, or you could just craft them and get 120,000 gold instantly. But for the most part, you're able to get 2 or 3 gems out of crafting these. Here's another example. So the green, I believe, tier 5 boots. Yeah, that's another example where these boots are needed for the tier 9 blueprint up to a certain point, up until a certain milestone. And so crafting these boots can often make you a good amount of gems as well, because you understand that green ones are needed. If you craft them, nobody's going to sell them for 125,000 gold when 3 gems is what you're going to be able to get out of it, knowing that you could potentially get 1,000,000 gold for 1 gem. It's interesting when we talk about gems specifically, because a long time ago, when the game first came out and like when tier 7 was the highest, tier 7 normal spirits, so they still were similar price in gold, but in terms of gem value, they would go between 10 and 13 gems during events because people would want to buy them to get up net worth to make money, and because gold wasn't as, you know, easy to get back then. And so 13 gems for one of these big ones, like during an event, was actually a normal occurrence back then. And even if you got like 8 or 9 gems net out of one, was pretty easy and would happen on a regular basis. So for us back then, making gems was quite a bit easier, whereas now you actually have to do things a lot differently. But another thing that people will do is they'll use the highest gold value items and use that kind of as a gauge for how expensive gems are right now. So if you look at the tier 9 items, these boots are selling for 1.45 million and going for 5 gems. So if you sold it for 5 gems, you're going to get 4 back after tax, and so you're getting 350k per gem. So obviously it's not a great ratio compared to what you can get otherwise, but that's actually pretty normal nowadays, is 250, 300, 350,000 per one. But you can also go over here and look at tier 9 items, and there's a lot of them that will sell for 2 gems, which means whoever's selling this item right now is only getting 1 gem out of it, and essentially you're buying it instead for 700,000. So this is another way that you can effectively and consistently trade your gems for gold, is that you could buy this for 2 gems and sell it immediately for 699,999. Someone's going to buy it. You're going to get 650k or whatever you're going to get out of it, and you're easily transferring over each gem for 300k or more. And if you're able to sell and shop, essentially for each gem you're getting 380,000. You also have to understand that there's kind of thresholds when it comes to gems because of how the taxes work. So if you put something up for 5 gems, like let's look at an example. So this for 5 gems, taxes are 20%. And so you're going to get 4 gems out of it. But if you put something up for 6 gems, the way that the 20% rounds is that that would be like 22% or whatever. So you'll actually still only get 4 gems out of it. So listing something for 6 gems doesn't make any sense because someone can list for 5 gems and still get the exact same number out of it after tax. So that's why you'll very rarely see something for sale for 6 gems, even though earlier in this video you did, but that doesn't make sense because you're still both getting 4 gems out of it. For these, you're losing 1 gem essentially to the market for tax, but also these at 2 gems, you're losing 1 gem to the market. What type of item that you're using is going to change a lot of what the ratio is. So selling an item makes more sense at a higher number because you're not losing as much of your ratio. Like selling something at 3 gems compared to 2 gems, as much as that only feels like 1 gem difference, it's actually double because you're only getting either 2 gems or 1 gem out of it. So selling something at 3 gems like this compared to 2 gems like these back here, actually, the person selling for 3 gems is getting twice as many gems as the person who's selling for 2 gems. All right, so there's just one more thing that I want to mention before we close this one out. So I have a search here ready to go, but let me explain it first and then we'll look at it. So let's say I was gearing a hero and I wanted some tier 9 legendary boots. So just the boots themselves may cost me like 200 or 300 gems. But then if I want to enchant it, let's say with a fire enchant, which is what I need for my berserkers, then that extra enchantment might cost me another 200 gems or something, or 150 gems, or whatever the cost is right now. So you can add it up and say, okay, total for the boots that I want from market, if I'm buying each piece individually, might be 350 gems or 450 gems or whatever the number is. But then if you look in market, there can be the same pair of boots actually with the correct enchantment on it, but for a lot cheaper. So this, for example, there's 212 gems and this one's 600 gems. But in order to just buy this fire enchant yourself, it would only cost you 150 gems. So really this one's a huge ripoff because you're spending an extra 250 gems that you don't need to spend. But you can also see this in the reverse a lot of the time, where it'll actually happen that you'll have like the legendary item that you want, let's say for 300 gems, but there'll be another one that, let's say it has a really bad enchant like this. Like that's useless to these boots. That doesn't help the berserker at all, like for what I'm looking for. But this could be like 150 gems instead of the 200. So that's worth it because you can put the enchant that you want on it. But also when I was looking for these boots, the normal boots were sitting at about 350 gems. But these boots with the proper enchantment on it, and it even had a tier 9 spirit on it as well, were 100 gems cheaper than just the normal ones. You kind of have to understand what people want, what the proper enchantments are, what the normal prices are, and if you're able to get a good deal on some of these things. Last thing I want to mention is that often some people will go into market and look at recent offers. Like when I did that, obviously you saw that there was this legendary item right here, right? And I actually crafted some of these on my brand new account earlier. But you see that you could buy it for 13,500 gems and maybe sell it for 2 gems. So you're able to get this one for cheaper. So that's actually probably a good purchase. Now I have one, I could sell it for 2 gems and make basically 1 gem for 13,500. So people will go through the recent feed and like find cheap items that they're able to make a good profit on just because people just listed it and it seems like a really good deal. But you got to understand that it might look like a good deal and then you find out later that it's not. Because I've seen it before where, let's say this buckler is here and there's only 49 of them. People have bought all the gem offers and there's only like 1 gem offer left and it's like 30 gems or something, and it's ridiculous. But if you don't know that, like obviously a level 2 normal buckler, you know that, everyone knows that. But let's say you find like something that looks like purple or legendary and it's like tier 6 or tier 7 and it's listed for like 200 gems, you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then you see it up for like 10 million gold, you're like, oh, I'm actually getting a good ratio. You buy it, and then you find out that no one's ever going to pay more than 20 gems for it, and you just spent a ton of gold and aren't going to get too much back out of it. And so sometimes if you don't really understand what the normal prices are or what you're actually able to get out of something, then you could screw yourself over. So you have to understand that that can be a bit of a risk, but it also could be quite a reward as well. Something that I guess I can show you and mention as well so that there's a better understanding. So let's say you're looking at equipping this hero and you look from market and you can see like hundreds of different items that you can equip, and it's hard to understand like what is actually the best in slot, what's going to be worth the most. So if you put no enchants and just normal items and look at all of the items that you're able to equip, essentially it'll come up with each stat that's the base stat for each item that you're able to see. Basically, this is what stat I'm going to get out of this. So if you have like a high tier hero and you're looking, okay, in this slot specifically, even though there's multiple different items that I could equip, what is the best thing for this hero? So when you look through all of these, Spellblade, I'm probably looking to add some damage, maybe a little bit of beefiness. The only thing in this slot that adds damage is these helms right here, and maybe like down the line, but these are obviously going to be worse. So out of all the tier 9 items, the best one is this Centurion helmet. So that's why when we looked at the legendary of the Centurion helmet, it was like 900 plus gems or 700 plus gems. One, because it's a brand new item, and also it's the best in slot. So you can look through each of the heroes, you can find out kind of what you think is the best item or the ones with additional stats, the pack items, the special items, all that kind of stuff, and kind of gauge from there what people may be willing to pay for it. And that may give you a better understanding of why some items that appear good aren't actually selling for very well, but it's because a new item or a pack item or something with an additional stat on it is going to be selling for better. And also why, let's say, this, because it is best for my Spellblade, might have, let's say, a water spirit on it or whatever the spirit is. Spellblades don't need water, by the way, but like for a Geomancer, for example, they do need water. You can check here. So I need water, requires water. So you can check on each of the types of heroes. This requires any element, it doesn't matter. But you can check on each of the types of heroes as well. So let's show you that really quick. You can check on each of the types of heroes, what type they need. So this one needs fire, and then my dancers will need air. So you can see what type each needs and how to find out the best in slot item for that. And that's generally the one that people are going to be paying the most amount of gems for and the ones that are going to be the most valuable in the market. So hopefully I've covered the majority of the different methods and thoughts that I have around gems. Hope that was good. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And yeah, as usual, I'll be streaming on Tuesdays on my new account, Fridays on this account, and hopefully still doing videos 2 or 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week. We'll see, and we'll go from there. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon, all right? Peace out.